want to compete so much that it's just another training day. Like when I win or lose, when I shake my opponent's hand before we leave the mat, what do I say? I say, thanks for the training. Thank you, professor, for the training, is what I tell all my competitors. Because that's all it is. We're just training. I spend a lot of time studying sports psychology. And one big thing that I've figured out over the years is the word competition throws people for a loop. It's just a roll. Just a hard roll. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, right? Just go roll hard and whatever happens, happens.
Welcome back to the BJJ Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ford. My guest today is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a multiple-time IBJJF champion. He's also a world's no-gi bronze medalist and a Pan Am's bronze medalist as well. He's currently ranked number 6 in the world for no-gi Master 3 in the black belt featherweight category. He represents Team Cicero Costa and trains out of Action and Reaction MMA in Toronto, Canada. He coached there for many years as well, but recently he took a step back to focus more on competition rather than teaching. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be joined today by Kyle Bull Sleeman. How are you today, Kyle?
Hey, how's it going, man? Super happy to be here. I appreciate it.
Of course, Kyle. I'm really excited to have you here, man. You're an awesome competitor. You've got a really cool story, and I'm really looking forward to diving into your background. So thanks for taking the time to be here today, my friend.
Thank you.
Of course. So, Kyle, the question I always start with, tell us about where you're from originally and what life was like before you found jiu-jitsu.
Okay, so I'm from Oshawa, Ontario, which is in Canada. And when I was born and growing up in my childhood, I grew up into a martial arts lifestyle right away. My father was a martial artist. All his friends were martial artists. So I started going to an academy at a very, very young age. And I just grew up competing and doing various martial arts, whether it be Taekwondo, kickboxing, some boxing, karate. I did all those striking arts for many, many years and competed. And just being around my father and his friends and my senseis, and I just grew up in that whole lifestyle. So it was pretty cool. I found grappling in 1999. So I dabbled in judo a little bit as I was growing up, going in the grappling era here. Cause my best friend who lived up the street, his grandfather was a red and white belt in judo, which is like a 7th degree judo. And so he used to always tell me to come up, train. Cause he knew I was a striker and a martial artist. And he used to always teach us stuff. And then eventually, when I was like 17, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to really check out this judo stuff. So I went there and got a gi, a different type of gi that I'm used to, thicker. And there was a lot of tough guys there. Like that's where the tough guys were. So I stayed there for a while and did that for probably 5 or 6 years. And then one day I was actually after judo class, it was on a Thursday. And this was in 2005. I was going to get ice cream at a place called Reed's Dairy in Oshawa, Ontario. And all of a sudden, beside Reed's Dairy, I looked at the sign. It said, Franco Bearing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I was like, okay, like this is the first time I've ever seen Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Canada. I've heard about it. I watched the UFC. I actually watched UFC 1 in my basement live on the black box in 1993 because my father was a martial artist and all his buddies, they were all into that. So they were out like doing their thing, having a couple beers, sparring in the garage or whatever. And they would come in and this guy had a black box and it was like a secretive thing. Like, hey, there's a real blood sport going on tonight. A little bit of a buzz going around in the world that that I was living in, right? I remember being in the basement at 10 years old watching UFC 1 live. And that's when I first got a glimpse of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? So doing the judo growing up was the closest thing to that I could find until the one day I stumbled upon this Franco-bearing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And there was like sweat running down this window. And I'm like, I'm going to go in and check it out. So I went downstairs, and it was this dungy basement, sweat dripping from the ceiling, stinks like you put your head in a hockey bag, right? And so I walked in, and there's a couple guys there, Justin Bruckman, Antonio Carvalho, and Richard Nanku, who were the pioneers of MMA in Canada. And you didn't really have access to this because, there was only a few of them training in downtown Toronto, and it was all hush hush, right? Which I found out later. So I went down there and I said, I want to join up. They said, come back tomorrow at 7 or something like that. So I went back the next day, and I, got my ass beat. And I'm like, man, like I've been doing martial arts my entire life, and I just got my ass handed to me on a silver platter. So there's two types of people in this world. There's a person that says, fuck this, I'm out, never going back. Or the second person that says, this is exactly where I need to be. And at that time in my life, that was about 2005. So between 1999 and 2005, when I was doing judo, we were also doing like fighting stuff, like just like bare knuckle type fighting in basements. And there was this one house in the town I live in now, in the basement on Saturday night. There's people fighting, and it was pretty much just bare knuckle fighting, So that's kind of why I got into judo originally, because the judo guys had me into this whole scene. So I kind of did that a little bit. I got beat up a few times real good, went to the hospital a few times, got my head kicked in and my head blown out. It was a rough and tough era. And then I found that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and yeah, then that's when my journey in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu started. But the guy I started with, Dustin Bruckman, Antonio Carvalho, Richard Nanku, they were all MMA guys. So the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that I was really learning was kind of like Vale Tudo, essentially, right? So, and then it evolved in this more of a family-oriented art that it is today, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's cool, man. It sounds like you and I very definitely started in kind of the same generation, I think. Like I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu, it was still very, very deeply tied to MMA. And at that time, NHB, which is kind of the bare knuckle stuff you were describing, that kind of stuff was just all getting phased out, and it was becoming a little bit more sportive by the time I got involved. But the original UFC is what drew me in too. So that's cool that you'd already seen Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it wasn't this completely new thing that you'd never heard of. So you started training with these guys, and did you take MMA fights? Did you do any like sanctioned MMA fights, or was this mostly just the NHB kind of Vale Tudo stuff that you were doing?
So no, I didn't do any actual MMA fights. Like we were just like doing like, fighting, in backyards and basements and things like that. Because at the time, like in Canada, MMA didn't even become legal in Canada until like 2015 or something.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's what you're saying. It was on hush hush. Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
So these guys were fighting in Japan. When I went downstairs, they were training MMA. They were training to compete in Shuto in Japan. Justin Bruckman was competing in Montreal for the UCC. He fought Georges St. Pierre. But they were training in Japan. Like there was no MMA in Ontario or anywhere else in Canada, really, at the time. So it wasn't easy to just say, oh, I'm going to up and take an MMA fight like it would be today, right? So we were literally like going to the bar, and then after the bar, you go to after parties, and we were fighting people that wanted to fight. And we had skills, so it was fun for us. It was just training, right? It was a totally different era, like, right? So,
yeah, I totally forgot about the legality in Canada. And I think it's easy to forget that just because there's been so many great Canadian athletes in MMA that have come out of Canada. So I mean, it's hard to fathom that, like, yeah, these guys were all training in a time frame where what they were practicing they couldn't do in their own country. So
now there was fights going on. They were just in dojos and basements. It wasn't in stadiums like it is today.
yeah, like in the US, we'd call those smokers. They were smokers.
Smoke show. Yeah, I was holding some smokers in my garage and things like that until some people got really hurt, and I had to kibosh that. But those are stories I can't really get into on here. Yeah. You get the idea.
Statute of limitations.
Well, you know, yeah.
Oh, that's great. No, I remember even like in the very early UFC, there were some great like Canadian representatives. I remember like Keith Hackney, and later on like Gary Goodrich. There's a lot of legendary guys. It's surprising that it was illegal in Canada because there's so many tough people in Canada. Like it's this country of hockey, and you think of Canadian athletes, you think of really tough guys. So it's interesting that the country would make it illegal when there's so many capable athletes that could perform so well.
You know what? I think it was just looked at it like it wasn't really a sport, and they weren't really athletes at the time. It was more just the people who were in charge of making it legal were just completely uneducated on that field, because the martial arts field was very hush hush. Like you were in a community and you stuck together and you didn't branch out. You know what I mean? So I don't think people had a lot of knowledge on the topic. Where the USA, I feel they had a lot more knowledge because wrestling was a lot bigger in university and high schools, way bigger than what wrestling would be in Canada. So I feel like they kind of had that jump on us, right? And the Gracies also came to America sooner, like 15 years earlier. So everything was evolved a little bit faster and sooner in America. We were lagging behind.
Yeah. Well, I remember even in the early days in the US, there was a lot of what you're describing. There was a lot of politicians that made it like their primary thing to make sure that this human cockfighting thing was illegal and couldn't be done. And it was only allowed on like Native American reservations and places where like normal laws don't always apply. And it was a strange time for sure. Also, I remember like early on too, like they anytime you were watching MMA pre Ultimate Fighter show, because after the Ultimate Fighter show, it became very mainstream. But before that, it was all like very, like if you rented the VHS tapes of UFC back in the day, like the production companies also had like softcore porn type like previews and the trailers leading up. Yeah, it's funny. My dad and I found UFC because I was doing Taekwondo, and next to the Taekwondo dojo, there was a video rental store. And they had, and I was a huge pro wrestling fan as a kid. So my dad saw these tapes. He's like, "Hey, Ryan, check these out. I don't think this is pro wrestling. I think this is like actual fighting." And so we rented them, and he under the agreement that I wouldn't tell my mom we had these tapes. So then when she went to bed on Friday night, we watched him, and he's like trying to like fast forward through like these softcore porn and like real vulgar kind of stuff, because it was all just mixed together. It was very, very fringe. It wasn't mainstream at all. So long way it's come from since then. Huh?
Yeah. Super cool, eh? To be in the era, to see the evolution of it is pretty cool.
Definitely. Now, speaking of evolution, you obviously jiu-jitsu itself has grown tremendously globally, all over the place. How would you describe the scene in Canada now compared to how it was before? Is there a jiu-jitsu corner, a jiu-jitsu on almost every corner, the way it is in some other places in the States? What are your thoughts on the growth in Canada of just jiu-jitsu?
You know what? I think the growth of jiu-jitsu in Canada is mind-blowing. I feel like in the States, you have such a big population and it's spread out, and there's good guys here and there and blah, blah. And I feel like because the population is so dense in such a small area of Canada, that there's a lot of academies growing. And I feel like, the teams are closer together. So the good competitors have access to each other more. And I feel like our teams here in the Toronto area are doing awesome. Like, example, I just got back 2 days ago from a Chicago Open. I think there was maybe 22 of us competitors from our team that went. I want to say we got 20 gold medals. Wow. And then probably 2 silvers. So our guys have been cleaning out every IBJF event that I go to. So like the room that I train in, say there's 30 or 40 of us black belts that train every single morning. Every one of those black belts in the room gets gold in their own division. So I would say the room that I'm training in now is very high level. Most of them are like half of them are from Sao Paulo, Brazil, from the Cicero Costa headquarters, because we're Cicero Costa, Canada. So we have access to those top guys. Like Pedro Veras is up. He spends 9 months up with us, and he just makes our jiu-jitsu so much better, right? So I feel like Toronto is like one of the meccas to go to now for really good competitive Brazilians, because we're close to the IBJJF. We have a lot of top guys. It's just like the spot now for really good guys to be training.
That's really awesome. Yeah, Cicero Costa is a notoriously tough team. Like you mentioned, the location in Sao Paulo is just like a champion factory. They've produced one legendary competitor after another. What do you think is your favorite thing about the methodology of Cicero Costa's team? Is there anything in particular? Because you've trained in different places. What are some things about the methodology within the walls of Cicero Costa that really speak to you?
One thing I really like that these guys are bringing up is the understanding of how to train depending on what state of recovery your body's in.
Yeah.
So like if we did 2 hours of hard rounds yesterday, 8-minute rounds for 2 hours, then the next day is going to be a lot lighter, situational type sparring, more technical sparring, still work, still more technical, right? So there's hard days, and then there's technical development days, right? And it's just from like these black belts that come up, they started at 5 years old and went through all the kids belts and all the belts. So training optimally and training correctly is just common sense, right? So we're doing good, easy recovery days followed by hard training days, and then so on. You know, based upon how the central nervous system is handling training will depend on how we train that day, right? So I think that's a huge tool compared to what we used to have, because what we used to have would be you throw yourself into a car accident every single day, 6 days a week, and then you don't recover, and then you do it again until you can't walk.
Cuts a career short for sure. Yeah, definitely. No, I love that you pointed that out, because that's something that I've heard a lot of people talk about wanting to be in the toughest rooms possible, and like the whole everyday Pojada mindset. And like, I respect that, but like you said, man, you do have to pace yourself, because your window of being able to compete for, when you're talking about longevity, your windows becomes much shorter if you're only doing that car crash type training like you described every single day. So that's really cool. And I have noticed that lots of really high level rooms do that. They have like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday are kind of the tougher days. Tuesday, Thursday, more technical. They still push the pace. They still do 2 hours of training, and it's good. But there is some recovery and some technical, more technical work being done rather than just going head to the wall every day. So that is awesome.
Exactly.
Have you been to Sao Paulo? Have you been to the Cicero Costa headquarters in Sao Paulo?
I have not been there yet. I had an opportunity last year to go, but plans ended up falling through, and it just didn't work out. And it was unfortunate, but I went to Nogi Worlds instead. So I still got to do something. But I will be going to Sao Paulo to see Cicero and the team there one of these days real soon. So, but for now, a lot of them are up right now, and they stay with us right now. So I have the best of both worlds by being at home and still seeing my friends from down there anyways. So
that's awesome. Well, if you're ever down in Sao Paulo, drop me a line, man. I live here, so hit me up.
Shit.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'll show you around.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. What are the big affiliations in Canada? Like, if you look across the board at like all the major affiliations, are there any? Is it like, what's the big predominant team up there
right now? Cicero Casa, and then Jiu-Jitsu for Life team. Okay, so the head of that would be George Burrito. And then the head of Cicero Costa Canada is Fernando Zulik, which is my professor. There's also Gracie Baja up here. We got BTT Canada in Montreal. Then TriStar in Montreal, where George was from. Those are the main jiu-jitsu teams up here. But in the Toronto area, if you're a really competitive practitioner, however you say it, you're probably on one of two teams. You're either on Cicero Casa Canada or you're on Jiu-Jitsu for Life team, really. And eventually people end up switching to that team if they have aspirations and going far competitively.
I know that you were coaching for a long time, and recently you took a step back to focus more on competition, which I think is a really cool aspect of your story. Is there anything in particular that made you decide, like, hey, I really do want to take a serious run at getting as many gold medals as I can and take a step back from teaching? What sparked that in you, do you think?
Well, it's slowly, because I've been teaching for like 14 years or something like that, or even more. And, the novelty of it isn't as sharp as what it used to be. And especially the more I'm doing better in IBJF black belt, the more I'm like, man, if I want to really achieve like real goals, like for real goals, I need to do what I need to do for me at this point of my journey. I've taught thousands and thousands of people, and they will always be my students, and I'm always here for them, and I still help them when I go train. I'm just not leading the classes. I'm at Action Reaction right now, which is Cicero Casa headquarters. And like I said, we have guys from the Sao Paulo Cicero Casa headquarters that are running the classes. So like I'm doing everything in my power to absorb what these guys are offering, right? So this is my opportunity to get ahead, and I need to see that, and you need to, seize moments and jump on opportunities. So I can teach for the rest of my life when I'm done competing. I'm still teaching private lessons. I'm still teaching seminars. I'm still helping my students every day. I'm just not leaving the class. That's all. I'm stepping back and being a student, and it's given me a whole new passion for the game to be a student again instead of the teacher all the time, right?
That's really cool. That's awesome. No, I think that's outstanding. I always admire instructors who run a school, run a class, and compete all the time. But it's like, man, at the same time, it's like, how much can you really put into your own performances if you have to also be balancing a teaching schedule and running an academy and stuff? That really is cool that you're in this position where you can be very hyper focused on your own results. Because like you said, you can always come back and teach for the rest of your life. And
exactly.
On top of that, if you're out there competing frequently and gaining lots of data and finding what really works and what doesn't in the battlefield, it makes you all the better teacher to competitors who want to be able to replicate the same success. So
and
super
I'm still
cool.
bringing the information back to my students. I'm still helping them. Like when they message me, hey, Kyle, I got this question. I'll meet up with them, work with them, help them. Right? That's it. Nothing has changed except for leading a class.
How many matches? I saw you posted the other day. I think you had your 80th something win as a black belt. Was that?
So this last competition in Chicago was my 81st win as a black belt.
81st win. So cool, man. And how long have you been a black belt now?
I got my black belt in 2019. And then the next year, COVID hit. COVID hit like 4 months into me being a black belt, right? So then that hit. That was 2 years. But obviously, like, still trained, right? You can't what does a black belt do? You train.
What was that like in Canada? Because in the US, I think for about 6 months or so, we were completely like unable to train legally at all. That was devastating for everyone. But what was it like up there? Was it about the same time frame or was it longer?
Same thing. Yeah. We'd go on lockdowns for months at a time, and you couldn't go visit your neighbor. You couldn't have people over for Christmas, and you couldn't train jiu-jitsu. Right? Like I felt like a crackhead, like running around just to like with my gi, like I'm like looking around and like, hiding behind cars and sneaking into garages, like to do fitness.
Yeah. It's like, you got any more of those open mats anywhere? Anybody got an open mat?
Exactly. Itching.
Oh man, well thank God that's all over. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's super cool though, man. 85 wins in a relatively short time of being a black belt. That's
Yeah,
incredible,
so
man.
probably since I guess I got back in the competition scene when COVID opened back up. So 2022 to now. So 3 years.
I've been watching your matches as you've been posting them, and very exciting style, man. Your style speaks to
Thank
me a
you.
lot because it's a very similar style that I play too. So
Yeah, I come with that aggressive style. Like I'm aggressive passer. I like to wrestle. I like to, if I'm on my back, my guard's aggressive, fast. I don't. I'm not there to catch my breath. I'm not there to rest. I'll rest all night long. Like I'll rest for the next week. You know, and I feel like too many people competing, like they go in this with this mindset of like there's this agreement. They shake hands. We are agreeing to compete jiu-jitsu. I'm not agreeing to do jiu-jitsu. I'm coming in there, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm coming in there to crush you. You sign the waiver, and I'm coming to crush you. There's no agreement. We're not doing jiu-jitsu. I'm coming to win.
that's awesome. So let me ask you: you mentioned that you dabbled in judo a little bit as a kid? Has any of your base in judo been like resurged itself as an adult when you're out there doing jiu-jitsu? Have you used any of your judo that you learned early on in life?
Yeah, absolutely. So during my 20 years doing jiu-jitsu, my instructor that I grew up through the ranks with, Justin Bruckman, he was an awesome judo guy. So we did a lot of judo as a part of our jiu-jitsu. He was also an MMA guy, and I told you he fought George St. Pierre, and he was one of the pioneer MMAs in Canada. So not only was he a great judo guy, but our jiu-jitsu that I learned, like Valet Tudo style jiu-jitsu, like no holds barred style jiu-jitsu, was wrestling, judo, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So I've basically wrestled, done judo and jiu-jitsu for 20 years, right? So I stopped doing judo for judo or wrestling for wrestling. It's judo for jiu-jitsu or wrestling for jiu-jitsu, right? So I've been doing it the whole time, and yeah, like to be a good guard puller, you got to know how to wrestle, and you need to know how to do judo to be a really good guard puller, and vice versa. You want to understand how to be a good passer by knowing judo and wrestling as well, right? So timing like your guard pull, I can foot sweep you, right? But there's a lot of things in judo that I wouldn't use in a grappling or Brazilian jiu-jitsu rule set. Like I'm not turning and doing Cianagis or drop Cianagis, then you're exposing your back. I'm never doing anything that gives back exposure to my opponent. That's a mistake in my opinion, right? So my judo will be more foot sweeps and trips and just setups for other ankle picks and takedowns. So I'll blend a couple judo attacks into a couple wrestling finishes.
Not long ago, I had Justin Flores on the show, and he was talking. He used a phrase I loved. It was ugly. I think he called it ugly judo, which is where it's basically the setups. It's not complete judo. It's not, but it's just the setups and the feints that lead to entries where you can use wrestling to complete the takedown. And that's something that he really drives home with his students. And
Basically, exactly how I do it too.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Do you spend extra time in a wrestling room outside the training, the jiu-jitsu room, or not really?
No, I don't because I find like over the years I've done a lot of like randori, a lot of wrestling and things like that, and doing judo and wrestling is how you get hurt. Like it's very rough and tough. It's the car accident that we were speaking of. So what I do is I drill my judo and my judo setups, and I drill my wrestling. I only drill them. Then come competition day, well, now I'm going to wrestle you because I've sharpened my drills. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I don't need to wrestle all the time. I just need to drill and have the muscle reaction. And then I already have my cardio and my tenacity from rolling all the time. We only start from standing. So whether you pull guard or we fight for a takedown, that's when I'll fight for a takedown. But I'm not doing like, okay, guys, 1 hour of just judo randori today. Or, okay, guys, today is just 1 hour of wrestling rounds. If you go down, you stand back up. I don't do that. Like I'll fight for the takedown once you're down. Well, it's just basically competitive match, starting standing. We only start standing.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Yeah. I could see, I think one of the things that scares people away from training takedowns is that after like, a couple of rounds of takedowns and you get more and more tired, injuries. And when you're doing scrambles and things, that's when injuries become a little bit more prevalent. So I think that's a smart approach that you're using, man. I really like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Kyle, I'll tell you what, man, we've reached about the halfway point of the show here. This is where I play a game with every guest I have on the show. The game's called the pummel. The pummel is a series of random questions. Some of these are about jiu-jitsu. Some of them have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. It's kind of like a lightning round of questions. If you're down to play, I'd love to play this game with you.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Question 1. What is the largest animal that you think you could beat in hand-to-hand combat?
The largest animal that I can beat in hand-to-hand combat? Oh, man. A horse.
A horse. Okay, cool.
Because I could choke a horse out.
Yeah. You're not the first person that said horse. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There's been other people that have said horse as well. Yeah. And probably horse for the same.
Cow.
Are you thinking like guillotine? What are you thinking? Are you thinking
probably a rear naked choke?
Get on his back. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool,
where I cannot be kicked and.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Self-defense.
In the rare event that you get mugged by a horse somewhere in Toronto. Yeah.
Well, you never know, man.
Never know. You never know.
It is Toronto.
It's crazy, bro. What do you think if you found a genie lamp and you could make 3 wishes, but the normal genie rules apply? So no killing people, no wishing for more wishes. What 3 wishes would you choose?
3 wishes. I would wish that I could have the ability to take my entire family on a 3-week all-inclusive vacation to like Bora Bora.
Nice.
That would be 1 wish. Number 2 would be to have the usefulness to compete as long as I wanted to compete.
That's a good one.
And the last one would have the ability to have free flights, unlimited flights to go train and compete wherever I wanted to.
Excellent.
Just
wishes,
off the top of my head. Yeah.
Very good wishes. I like those. Those are really good. Have you ever had a supernatural experience? Ever seen a ghost or what you thought might have been a UFO or Yeti or anything like that?
Well, there's obviously like a lot of things flying around in our skies around here.
Yeah. Have you seen some stuff?
Like globes, like orbs and things like that. Oh, we see them all the time. We got a nuclear power plant nearby. And it's like pretty common knowledge that people around here see a lot of things over the power plant, almost like they're recharging themselves.
Wow.
Essentially,
Wow.
But yeah, like we see weird things in the sky. You never know what it is, whether it's interdimensional beings or is it like humans from the future or is it like government testing new crafts? Like who knows, right? Like you hear all kinds of stuff. It's cool to just like wonder.
It is. It is interesting that they're going specifically over a power plant. That seems, I guess that could be another government spying and finding information on the lay of the land, or it could be surveillance from a national, from the Canadian government, or who knows, man. It could also be extraterrestrial. You never know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Really don't know. And I don't know, to be honest, like I don't even know if our brains are capable of comprehending what reality really is.
Yeah, sure.
Because we can only comprehend what we've learned in a created education system made up by the government.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have any tattoos? And if so, what are your favorites? Which one's your favorite?
Yeah, I'm actually covered with tattoos.
Oh, nice. There you go. Cool. Nice. What's the first tattoo you got?
The first tattoo I got, I was 16 years old. And I got a Canadian leaf on my shoulder because the deal was, because my dad has a tattoo, right? So it was like, Dad, you got tattoos. I want tattoos. So the deal was he would sign the waiver as long as it was smaller than a Canadian dollar, which we call a loonie. That was the deal. It had to be smaller than a loonie, right? So that way my parents knew that I wouldn't go behind their backs and blah, 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 right? So it was a Canadian leaf on my shoulder, which is now long covered up.
And what's your favorite tattoo that you have?
I have like across my chest here, I have like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I like that one. My hand says fascia preta. I like that one too.
That's cool. Those are
But
cool. I like it.
I kind of like them all because they kind of like they represent certain times of my life. Like when I look at a certain tattoo, I'm like, okay, I got that around 2004. And I can kind of remember the crazy shit I was up to at that time. So that tattoo represents that era of my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think is the worst job that you ever had?
I worked at a bar as a busboy when I
Okay.
was like 16 years old. So I remember like I was in high school, but then I would still like be at this bar Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And at the bar, you were allowed to smoke inside. So it was a haze of smoke. It was so disgusting. By the end of the night, my hair smelled like smoke. My clothes smelled like smoke. I had beer stains all over me and I stunk. And then being 16, having to deal with alcoholics and drunks. And yeah, it was a shitty job, bro.
Yeah, I imagine.
It was a shitty job.
Plus, you're doing the least fun thing that there is to be doing in the bar. You're cleaning up after everybody. That's not very exciting at all.
No, it was disgusting.
Well, good thing you don't have to do that anymore. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think is a secret talent that you have that people might not know about?
Huh. A secret talent that I have that people wouldn't know about.
Maybe like, can you play an instrument? Can you sing? Can you cook? Anything at all like that?
Well, I cook, and I actually post a lot of cooking videos on my Instagram. So I think people
Nice.
know that I like to cook because cooking and nutrition goes hand in hand with being an athlete,
Yeah.
right? But I played basketball through high school, and I was a point guard. I was actually pretty good, and even though I'm only like 5'6", I was actually pretty good. I was quick, I was fast, I could go in and around all those big guys. So I was pretty good at basketball. A lot of people wouldn't know that, I don't think.
That's pretty cool. I like that. What do you think is something you wish you could be better at? Something outside of martial arts that you wish you could be better at?
I wish I could be better at. It's a good question because anything I wish I could be better at, I just focus on getting better at that.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously jiu-jitsu, but okay, I would focus on getting better at the intricacies and the deep details of strength and conditioning and nutrition.
Nice. Good answer. I like that one. That's also super important for athletes as well. Obviously, yeah. Right. So very good, man. What do you think is, what's the worst injury that you've had in jiu-jitsu?
Well, multiple times I've like tore my ribs. Tore my ribs a few times. I've had a knee injury. In 2013, I was off for about 9 or 10 months with a lower back injury. I went to a bunch of different specialists and surgeons, and they said like the ligaments that attach my vertebrae together got overstretched and strained, and it was always going to be sloppy and loose, and I would never be able to do martial arts ever again.
Oh my God.
3 different surgeons told me that over a 10-month span. And it was shitty. Like, for that 10 months, I remember like going to try a couple workouts and things like that and having to lie on the ice packs for half an hour just to fall asleep.
Oh my God.
So I was hurt. It did suck, but, I just didn't give up. I just tried to rehab it. I did everything I could about learning rehabilitation, nutrition to keep inflammation at bay. And you know what? That's a lot. That time of being injured was a time that I really learned a lot. I had the ability to, what I said to myself is, if I can't be on the mats 90 minutes a day, I'm going to spend 90 minutes a day researching and learning. So when I do come back on the mats, I'm an evolved martial artist, even though I've been off. So that was a time that I did learn a lot about diet, nutrition, strength and conditioning, aerobic activities. Things like that. So, yeah. So awesome. Injuries suck, but there are also opportunities to get ahead in other areas that you normally would never get ahead in. Because when you're physically healthy and you're training all the time, you're going to be lacking the studying and the mental aspect to the game.
Very well said. Yeah, very well said, man. Let me ask you this: what things have you learned about nutrition and bringing down inflammation? What are some of the biggest discoveries you've made when you were doing that research?
So I did notice that during that time that the more sugar I ate, the more my back would act up.
Interesting.
So I did a lot of trial and error through diet on myself because there was nothing else I could do except I could go to work, and that was about it, right? Sugar causes a lot of inflammation for me. I noticed that, the more protein I ate, the better it felt because the stronger those ligaments got. Just overall a better diet. The shittier your diet is, the more inflammation and soreness you're going to have. Right. So
is there anything in particular that you eat that you've added to your diet to make sure that helps with inflammation? Like I've heard of people bringing in like a turmeric and things like that they always they'll add shavings of turmeric and different things into their diet that helps bring down inflammation. Is there anything like that you use?
So, that's a good question. After my workouts, I have, a fruit smoothie with protein powder that I have on a religious basis.
Nice.
And in that fruit smoothie, there's always pineapples, because pineapple is one of the most natural, most potent natural anti-inflammatory that there is.
Oh, cool.
So I always add pineapple after my workout.
Nice. That's cool. I'm gonna have to start doing that. I make smoothies too, but I need to be thinking more about inflammation, because that's something I'll be honest, I completely have ignored that, but I can see the value of it, because everyone talks about how important that is to keep inflammation down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is. You know what? And I do notice it. Eat pineapple every day or in your shakes post workout. It does make a big difference. And also, after training, what really helps too is hot baths. Like if I kink something and have a hot bath right away, that kink will be gone. Whereas if I don't have a hot bath and just have a hot shower, that kink will stay a few days. Wow. So I do notice that too, is hot baths really take down inflammation.
Do you ever use cold plunge, like cold baths as well, or ice baths or anything like that? Is that something?
Yeah, actually I'm sponsored by a place around here called Durham, Sauna and Ice Bath Durham.
Oh, cool.
But I freaking hate the cold, man. Like, oh, it's freaking brutal. I'll go in it. I'll feel good when I get out, but I don't freaking like it. I'll prefer to like ice something. Like if I hurt my elbow and it's sore, I'll ice it. But like that cold plunge, man, that's fucking brutal.
Not to be stereotypical, but I would have assumed the Canadian wouldn't have minded the cold plunge as much as everyone else. It seems like that would have been like, man, you're like forged in snow, man. It doesn't seem like that would be too bad for you.
No, send me to Mexico. Let me live in Mexico and I'll be happy there. I want the heat.
That's awesome. I love it.
And it's only really cold here, like November, December, January, February, March. So 5 months. So 7 months of the year, it's hot. Like our June, July, August, September is, in the 90s.
Okay.
Right. So it does get pretty hot.
Okay. See, I'm out of Atlanta. I'm based out of Atlanta, and that's basically the same. You just described pretty much Atlanta weather, but I imagine the winters in Toronto are probably significantly colder. Like that stretch of November through February that you described. That's got to be like a completely different experience. But
yeah, it's cold. It's like well, it gets -10, -15 sometimes, which would be like what, 10 degrees Fahrenheit or something.
Yeah, that's pretty
gross.
Cold. That's pretty cold. Yeah, that's pretty cold.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Well, we were talking about food earlier. What do you think is your favorite bad food to eat?
All of it.
All of it, yeah. Just all the options.
I eat everything. But I'm addicted to chocolate mini eggs. Cadbury mini eggs.
Yeah.
I like cookies and I like ice cream.
Nice. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint chocolate chip.
Nice. That's a classic. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
What's your most hated food? What's something you cannot eat no matter what?
Hated food, I would probably say, oh man. Fuck, you got me there.
That's the sign of a foodie. Someone that likes food, and when you ask them what they hate,
a lot.
I do too, man. I'm right there with you. It can also be a condiment. If there's a condiment that people put on food that you don't like, that counts as well.
I'm not a fan of pesto.
Okay. Oh, really?
Like
Pesto.
the flavoring pesto.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, or like sesame. I don't really like that sesame flavor.
Sesame. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like hate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So you have foods. So because you like food so much, you don't have a category you hate. You just have less favorable than other food. Okay.
Yes.
I respect that. I respect that.
Yes.
I like that. I respect that. What do you think was the scariest moment of your life?
Huh.
Any like near death experiences, traveling the world, or anything like that that's happened to you?
Near death experiences. I don't like.
Or just a scary moment.
I was on my motorcycle with my wife on the back, and I was driving, and a car slammed on its brakes in front of me, and I hit my brakes, and I started going down on the side. Like I was like right on an angle. I was sliding, about to friggin' start sliding underneath this truck in front of me, man, with my wife on the back, and somehow I don't know what happened, but the bike went boing and popped right back up and stopped.
Oh my God, dude.
I don't know how. To this day, I have no idea how I didn't go under that. Like I was going under the truck, man.
Oh my God.
I don't know how it just boinged back up. Like I released the brake and it just like hopped back up. I sold my bike after that when I was like, okay, man, like this is like the third time I almost died on my motorcycle. And this time was like with my wife on the back. And I'm like, I wouldn't like, if she got hurt, I would not be able to live with myself, man. So I'm like, no, enough. Like,
yeah, no, right? I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Yeah. Motorcycles are awesome. And I think that motorcycles are awesome depending where you live. Like if you live in like a big city, it's really, really risky. I feel like cars not all drivers respect motorcycles the way that they should. And also sometimes they're just not paying attention. People are on their cell phones a lot more now. I think if you live out in like West Texas or like, you know, out in like the like in the desert somewhere, like out in like outside of Vegas where there's just long open stretches, that's awesome. I think that would be the only way I'd have a motorcycle, because other than that, it's like, man, it's just so much risk, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, I'm glad you guys were okay. Whatever that was that caused you to bounce back up. I'm happy that happened. That's
crazy.
That's a scary one.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite grappler of all time?
Favorite grappler of all time has to be Marcelo Garcia.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah.
How about your favorite MMA fighter of all time?
Favorite MMA fighter of all time? I would probably say Anderson Silva or Nate Diaz.
Oh, good choices. Good choices. Yeah. I love both those guys. They're great fighters, man.
Yeah.
If you had, what's your favorite match that you've had in your career?
A favorite match that I've had? Well, I had a really good experience at the Ace Jiu-Jitsu Pro Cup. It's a super fight event here in Canada. It was one of our biggest super fight leagues. I had a really good experience in that event, and I did really well. I got a wicked judo setup to a wrestling takedown, to a guard pass, to a Kimura. It was probably like a 90-second to 2-minute match, but it was an overall great experience in an awesome venue, great auditorium, great people. Yeah, it was just overall a great day.
Who do you think's your favorite superhero?
Batman.
Batman, good choice.
It's just because I grew up watching Batman.
Yeah. I think Batman's the most jiu-jitsu superhero. He doesn't have any superpowers. He just trains hard. He's got money. He's got family money to fund his training. So that's an advantage. But at the end of the day, he's got no superpowers. He just kicks ass. He learns how to fight. He learns how to he trains a lot and uses technology.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very, very jiu-jitsu kind of vibe. What do you think is your biggest phobia?
Well, watching Naked and Afraid. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I see them getting eaten alive by bugs. I could never do that. So I would say a phobia would either be like mass amounts of bugs eating me alive or like heights. I don't like heights.
Heights. Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, good answer.
Like if I'm standing on the edge of like a balcony, like 100 stories up, I'm like, no, back inside.
That's excellent, man. And final question for the pummel game, Kyle. If martial arts didn't exist, what do you think you'd do with your life instead?
I would be an athlete of some sort.
Cool. Any sport in particular you think you'd play?
I don't know. So growing up, I played 13 years of baseball, and growing up, there was no pro martial arts when I was growing up, when I was doing martial arts, right? Like even before UFC 1, I was doing martial arts. So there was no, right? So when I was growing up, I wanted to be a pro baseball player. That was my goal. That was like the thing, is like I wanted to play on the Blue Jays, or like, you know, something like that. So I played 13 years of baseball and I was really good at it. So I think I might probably have gone down that path, maybe.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know.
Yeah, I like that. Well, either way, you'd be an athlete still, and I could definitely
pro athlete of some sort.
Yeah, for sure. I think you definitely have the personality type that's very competitive, and you'd always have to be in something where you're competing and testing yourself, which I think is super cool. So
absolutely,
yeah, that's awesome. Well, man, that was the last question for the pummel game. Congratulations, you win. You got your double underhooks. Kyle, let me ask you, man, I'd love to dive in, zoom in a little bit more on discussing competitive mindset and kind of get some fine points of competition. Because we have a lot of listeners out there who have aspirations to compete more. And we have a lot of listeners who actively compete now already. So in what ways do you think competition has molded your game? Like, how has it changed the catalog of techniques that you rely on the most?
It's a great question. So yeah, ultimately you start with a game, and then if something fails or something doesn't work, that must be adjusted upon for the next time. And then it's just constant adjustment every time you fail. And the problem is, as you're taking these stepping stones to become a good competitor, every time you win, you don't think you did anything wrong. And so you don't improve. You know what I mean? So I feel like my success today has been built upon facing ridiculous amounts of failure and adversity. And that's how I was able to grow and create the game that I have today. If I didn't face those adversities, there'd be no reason for me to evolve and fix things along the way. So if I wasn't a competitor, I couldn't imagine how basic my jiu-jitsu game really would be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these people that don't compete don't realize how much better they could be if they actually like tested themselves. Right. So yeah, like things change. Like, I'm using this guard pass. Okay. But every time the guy turtles. Okay. So that means I need to start chaining that guard pass to a back take. And then you just evolve. Okay. When they defend the back take, then I go here instead. And you just create chains and sequences. Jiu-jitsu at a high level comes down to recognizing patterns and making sure that my brain signal can fire just a hair second before yours can. That's what it comes down to. And that the brainwave signal triggering before yours comes down to drilling.
I love that you emphasize the fact of the value of failing as part of getting better, because that you have to, you really do. And that one of the things that I don't compete as much as I used to, but one thing that I always felt from competition, I could go to tournaments and lose every match, and somehow, I can't explain it, the following week in training, I'm just doing better. I don't know what it is. Like, I didn't feel like there's anything I actually learned because I got my ass kicked at this tournament, but somehow
you're tighter.
I'd just be tighter. And I was just like, man, I feel better. I feel like I've somehow jumped a little bit, even though I lost miserably at this tournament last weekend, you know? And I think that at the end of the day, it's just a collection of data. You're just collecting data, and you're also getting really accustomed to using your jiu-jitsu under pressure, which I think makes you tighter, you know? Is that been the same for you?
Yeah, like I tell my guys too, it's like, okay, as soon as you hit 5,000 mat hours, you're going to be good to where you want to be. 5,000 mat hours. So start now. And every competition is like 4 or 5 weeks worth of mat hours. So every time you go to the academy, that's 1 mat hour or 90 minutes of mat hours, right? But one competition is like 4 or 5 weeks of mat hours accumulated. So the more you can compete, the more mat hours that you can accumulate at a fast rate. Right. And you know what? Like, I really see, like, you want to compete so much that it's just another training day. Like, when I win or lose, when I shake my opponent's hand before we leave the mat, what do I say? I say, thanks for the training. Thank you, professor, for the training, is what I tell all my competitors, because that's all it is. We're just training. You know what I mean? The word competition, I spend a lot of time studying sports psychology. And one big thing that I've figured out over the years is the word competition throws people for a loop. It's just a roll, just a hard roll. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, right? Just go roll hard and whatever happens, happens. That's why I don't ever worry about the outcome of a match. I worry about what I can control. I don't worry about what my opponent does. Oh, people say, oh, he's good at single leg X. He's good at the lasso. Okay. What does that have to do with me? You know what I mean? As soon as I start worrying about what other people are doing and things like that, that's when you create like anxiety and nerves, right? I kind of just like worry about what I can control, which is my diet. How good can I eat? How much training I put in? How much sleep I'm getting? How much strength and conditioning I'm doing, right? How kind I am of a person to other people. That's a very valuable asset to being a good competitor as well. You have to be kind to people. You know, that's the number one thing of being a martial artist, is learning how to treat everybody with respect. And when you can learn that through martial arts, then you have something. Now you can build off that. That's how I like to see it. Is you can't be a good competitor. Like, you can be a good competitor and be a dick, but who wants to be that? Right? Like, it's not really cool to be a good competitor and be a dick. Right? So you got to learn how to respect people and be a good, kind person before you start winning. Right?
When I watch guys that excel in competition, for them, Saturday at a tournament is basically just an open mat. They really do treat it and see it as just a big open mat with maybe some cameras and people like so there's maybe a few spectators that aren't usually present when you're in a training room. So other than that, it's jiu-jitsu. And I think many students struggle with the fact that when you get to competition, they don't always, they feel like they don't perform as well as they do in the academy because your adrenaline's high. And like I said, there's the cameras, sometimes there's crowds, and it can really change the dynamic of how you apply your game. What's been your experience in learning how to be really comfortable in a competition arena? Is there anything that you've done extracurricularly that's helped you adapt to that better?
Yeah, that's a great question. So ultimately, like I said, before the competition starts, you just have to make sure that you're doing everything in your power to control certain aspects. You want to do everything in your power to control your diet, your training. Everything has to be, you have to put 100% effort into every aspect. And that there makes you more comfortable with the thought of competing. Okay. But a lot of anxiety, adrenaline, the fear of failure, things like that, it comes from a fear of failure. You're worried about failing. If I lose my match, all these people are going to think I suck at jiu-jitsu when this is all I do. I can't have that. Oh my God, now my anxiety is going. I have to win, right? And so already people are fearing competition because they're fearing losing. And one thing that I've told myself for the years is, regardless of the outcome of a match, my family and friends are going to love me regardless. Nothing changes. If I lose my match or I win my match, nothing changes. If I win, good. If I lose, cool. Doesn't matter. It matters to the person who's in the position, but to the people watching, they don't care. They're not going to, nobody remembers that I lost a match in 2014. Nobody cares. Do you know what I'm saying? And you have to like accumulate losses to learn how to win. So one thing I've told myself is to be grateful for opportunities. If I'm just sitting here worried about failing and worried about losing, I'm caught up in this ball of anxiety, and there's no way I can perform like that. You can't perform all worried and stressed. That that's not actually like stress and nerves. What that is that's excitement. This is what you want to do. This is where I want to be. So a lot of it is the mindset, the way you look at your mind. You can be stressed out. Oh my God, this sucks. Why did I sign up for this tournament? I shouldn't even be here. I'm not ready. What am I doing? The thoughts creep into your head. Or you could say, wow, that feeling I have, man, that's excitement. This is what I want to do. This is what I love. If I win or lose, everybody's going to love me the same. I don't change if I win, and I don't change if I lose. So let's just get out there. Let's be grateful for the opportunity. Let's be grateful that we're not injured, grateful that we're doing jiu-jitsu, grateful that I have a family and friends that will love me regardless. Let's just go have fun, man. Now I can perform.
Outstanding advice. Yeah. And it is hard to silence those voices too. I think that everyone has that voice that creeps on you like, oh man, like, you know, people are judging me. I don't want to let my team down. I don't want to let my coach down. I don't want to be embarrassed in front of my girlfriend. I don't want, you know, all these things start piling up. But at the end of the day, like you said, this is your thing. No one really cares. You know, it's you're supposed to lose. And jiu-jitsu is not the kind of sport where you can win all the time anyway. There's very, 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 very few people who win at a really high ratio in jiu-jitsu. It's, you know, you lose in this sport, and it happens to even the very best. So very well said, man.
Yeah. I was, a good example of that too is like, I put everything I could into going to Europeans in Portugal this year. I put everything, an 8-week training camp, the best diet I could do. Everything was good. And I was gunning for that gold medal. And I faced a really tough guy in the bronze medal match, and he won by a 2-point sweep. So as soon as the buzzer went beep, I was lying on the mats, and all I could hear is everybody cheering and yelling and screaming. You know, a big event. I'm lying on the mats, and I looked up at this light bulb 100 feet up, and I thought to myself, man, living my dream. I'm here in Portugal, across the world, competing, doing jiu-jitsu with the best guys I can find. Losing didn't even creep into my head. What crept into my head is I'm living my dream. I just didn't succeed today. That's it. Right? But I made it happen at Pans. Right? So, but that's it. Like I lost, but never once was I upset about it because I'm living my dreams.
That's an incredibly healthy mind. It's a very, very healthy mindset. That's something everyone should be aspiring to, is to think that same way. If you have that kind of thought patterns, you'll do real well. And even if you reach world championship status, for the people listening, it's like, man, at least you enjoy the ride. You have these awesome memories to look back on. And obviously lots of data. If you plan on becoming an instructor, now you have lots and lots and lots of information and data that you can pass on and share to other people because you were there doing it. So that is really cool. Kyle, man, you look like you're in really good shape, man. What's your lifting regimen look like?
So, my lifting regimen is I'll do one full body workout every 9 days.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Okay. Now I've been on a consistent lifting routine since I've been 13 years old, and I'm 42. Okay. I'll lift consistently outside of like competition. But within 6 weeks leading up to competition, I'll only lift once every 9 days. Okay, so that way my body gets the rest and recovery that it needs. I have the energy for skill development, and I have the energy for aerobic and anaerobic conditioning. Okay, and I build my strength and my foundation outside of that 5 weeks of competition window. Okay. So outside of a competition window, which is very rare because I'm always competing every 2 weeks. So I'll lift, once every 9 days, pretty much. I'll do a full body lift. I'll do a good warm up. I'll do a 10-minute jog. I'll do 10 minutes of just randomly lifting every muscle group, warming the body up. And then I'll pick one exercise per muscle group. And I'll do 4 good hard sets each muscle group. Each set is to failure. And I'll do 4 hard sets per muscle group. So I'll go chest press, 4 hard sets to failure. Then I'll go chin-ups, 4 hard sets to failure. Then shoulders, presses, 4 hard sets to failure. Quads, hands, abs, do a full body. It takes about just over an hour. I'll do that every 9 days. Then the day after that is a rest day. And then back on track. So basically, just because there's a 7 days in a work week, doesn't mean there has to be 7 days in a training week. We have to set our training up to make it the most optimal for skill development. Okay? So what that means is, like, I like to use a 10-day split. And in that 10 days, I make sure I do 6 hard jiu-jitsu sessions. I'll do 1 good high-intensity interval training. I'll do 1 good full-body lift, and then like 3 days of rest, right? Or like 5 jiu-jitsu days, 1 high-intensity interval training, 1 full-body lift, 3 days rest in the 10 days. So there's no set schedule. Okay, and how I'm going to get those rests and things like that. Like, I don't wake up and be like, okay, Friday and Saturday this week is my rest day. No, I'm going to go by how I feel. Okay, so a lot of the times I take my morning resting heart rate and my blood pressure, and I write it down. And in a training camp, in an 8-week training camp, my resting heart rate should be improving. It should be lowering as I get in shape. So at the beginning of training camp, when I'm out of shape, I'm usually around 65 beats per minute. The day before I compete, I'm usually around 42 to 44 beats per minute. Okay, so over that training camp, I watch my resting heart rate lower. But as it's lowering, if I notice 2 or 3 days in a row that my resting heart rate is like 3 to 5 beats per minute faster than the past week, that tells me to take 4 days off in a row and recharge my battery. Okay, so I do kind of go by how I feel every day as well. Like, I wake up in the morning, how do I feel? Is it a hard day? Is it a rest day? Is it a mental push day? You know what I mean? But normally it's 3 rest days in a 10-day period. So I'll be like 3 days of jiu-jitsu in a row, day off. High intensity interval training, jiu-jitsu, day off. Lift, day off. You know what I mean?
You said that you like to do your sets to failure. Was there ever a point in your life where you were doing like, 10 reps per set or 12 reps per set? And if so, what made you switch over to going to failure?
Okay, so any set I've ever done, ever in my life, has been to failure. But when you say 10, I select a weight that I fail between 15 and 18 reps. If I can do 19 reps, I up the weight. If I can't quite do 15 reps, I lower the weight. But the weight will adjust. So one set, I'll die at 15. The next set, I'll adjust the weight that I can die at 18. The next set, I might adjust it that I die at 4. Then the next set, I might die at 23. But the rough idea is between 15 and 18. If I can do more than 18, it's too light. If I can do less than, you know what I mean? That's a general idea. But each set, I switch up the weights and switch up the rep ranges. But I always go to failure, whether it's 4 reps or it's 32 reps. It's to failure. It's till I can't do another one. Right? And then 60 seconds rest, and then another set, and then 60 seconds rest, then another set. Yeah, 4 sets and a new body part. But I don't need to break it down like bodybuilding. I'm not trying to get like, I'm not trying to build muscle. I'm not trying to build muscle tissue because I need to maintain a specific weight class. So I'm just trying to make my muscles strong like tendons. I'm trying to get as strong as I can while being the smallest I can.
let me ask you this: when obviously right now you're competing every 2 weeks, so you do that every 9-day regimen that you mentioned before. When you're not competing as frequently and you're doing more lifting, how do you typically balance your training days in jiu-jitsu and your lifting days? Because I know for some people, like if you lift weights then go train jiu-jitsu, they feel like they have a shit performance in jiu-jitsu. Well, has that been the case for you? Do you typically alternate days between lifting and doing jiu-jitsu if you're not in that camp of competition?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't I make sure each session I do is optimal. So I don't lift and do jiu-jitsu on the same day because my jiu-jitsu session wouldn't be as optimal, right? And same thing, my lifting session wouldn't be as optimal. Not saying it's wrong, not saying it doesn't work for the best guys in the world. Just the way I like to do it is if I was recreationally training, no competitions coming up, I would do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday jiu-jitsu, and then I would probably do Tuesday, Thursday lift. Tuesday would be upper body, Thursday would be lower body. It's probably what I would do. And then one day rest this week, and then next week would be 2 days rest, then 1 day rest, and 2 days rest, and the fifth week would be like 4 days off in a row to fully recharge. And then I would start it over, kind of. But what my weeks have been like, because I've been competing every 2 weeks, even every week, like sometimes back-to-back weeks, but it's been like I'll cut weight because I cut between 7 to 10 pounds every event. So I'll cut 10 pounds Friday night, compete Saturday, compete no-gi Sunday, binge eat Sunday and Monday, and put the 10 pounds back on, train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, cut weight Friday and travel day, then fight Saturday. And that's basically what it's been. In the past 7 months, I've competed 11 times. Yeah, and each competition has been gi and no gi, so that's like 22 times.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow, man, you're a machine, dude. That's amazing. That's really awesome. What are your thoughts on the old mantra of strength not mattering in jiu-jitsu? That's something I'm sure you heard, especially in the earlier days. You'd hear people saying like, you don't need strength in jiu-jitsu, you just need technique. What are your thoughts on that?
So every ounce of strength you have applied to a technique will help it. If most techniques are thought of through leverage and weight distribution, imagine I added strength to it, right? Like, of course, strength matters.
Yeah.
Strength matters. Speed matters. One thing I don't like hearing too is like when people are like, "Oh, don't use as much strength." They tell somebody, a big guy, a 220-pound guy, don't use your strength. And I'm like, wait a second. As a coach, use your strength. That's your attribute. That's like telling this little guy not to use his speed.
Right. Exactly.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Every athlete for me and every student for me is an individual. If they're big and strong, I'm going to help bring that out of them, and I'm going to help create a game that will help with their attributes. My little guy that's a featherweight, that's Speedy Gonzalez, I'm going to help him formulate a game plan and a game for him. Two different things, but we're not going to tell each other don't use your attribute. I think that's a little odd. I think that's kind of like a hating, undercover hating word, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean?
I totally agree that it's crazy to just tell someone not to use their attributes for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Like if you're super strong and you're pressuring me on double unders, I can be like, man, you like almost had me on that double under. We really need to hone in on more pressure there. Imagine you saying, don't use pressure on a pressure pass.
Crazy. Yeah. Like I think the only caveat there would be if you had two students and one was much, much, much larger than the other, you might tell them, hey, just be careful just because you're 60 pounds heavier than this person you're training with, so don't hurt them. But other than that, like to tell someone not to use their strengths, like, dude, or use their size or their pressure. Like that's crazy, man.
Yeah. And you know what? Being aware of your training partner is a completely different thing.
Yes.
Right? Like me rolling with somebody smaller or a female, I'm not going to use my strength and I'm going to play more jiu-jitsu. But you can't tell me don't use my strength in a competition or against another black belt my size. I have to.
Yeah.
Or else I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I have to. Right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. Don't use your strength. Just lie there with knee on belly.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Don't use any strength to get out. Just lie there.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love these. I love that you said that. I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, you gotta rely on your attributes. And that's what makes the game fun. Is, you know, imagine if we're all playing on an even playing field, and like no one has. You never go with someone that's faster or stronger or more flexible than you. It's like, dude, what the hell is this? Like, everyone's supposed to, you're supposed to learn how to adapt your game to different styles of people, tall people, short people, you know, strong, fast.
And when it comes down to it, it's about real fighting. It's about self-defense, right? When it comes down to it, martial arts was created for martial law. It was to kill, right? And so in a real survival situation, you have to use every single attribute you can get. So if I'm telling this big guy, don't put pressure on me, and then I come into an altercation in the street and I'm not used to that, I would much rather be pressured by the guy in a controlled atmosphere to get used to that first, right? So it comes down to self-defense and martial law, martial arts. Like, you have to defend yourself in a real fighting scenario before you can be comfortable with the sport, in my opinion.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you got to deal with those big guys using strength first. Once you're comfortable with that, then you can play the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good point, man. You know, Kyle, you display a hellacious top pressure in your matches. What do you think are some of the most important things to understand about developing exhausting pressure from the top?
Again, it comes down to my mindset. I do drill a lot. I drill a lot of sequences. I drill within live roles. So I will drill certain things and see your reactions to it and formulate game plans off the most common reactions. But then everybody has that same idea. They do the same thing. They learn and evolve. But what it comes down to is mindset. Like, when I'm about to compete, I think to myself, okay, let's say it's a 8-minute match. Let's say it's a 5-minute match. Let's say it's a 15-minute super fight. It doesn't matter. I am coming hard. I'm coming to crush your soul. You have 6 minutes on the clock to stop me. I don't look at it like I got 6 minutes on the clock to play jiu-jitsu. You have 6 minutes on the clock to stop me, because I'm coming violent. I'm coming vicious with tenacity. And even when I get tired, when the room's spinning and I'm down there, I'm not going to stop. I'll rest when I get home. I got the next 2 weeks that I can rest. But when I'm in there, you better bet your ass I'm bringing it. And I'm bringing it hard, and I will not stop. And I will go back and forth until I break you mentally. Because I am not going to break mentally. I will die until I get that pass. That's the mentality that I'm coming with. Right? And I don't come in like, oh, I'm nervous. I come in with like, this is my time to shine. This is what I do best. This is where I thrive. I'm coming to show you what's up. You're about to change your entire game after our match. You're going to rethink your entire jiu-jitsu game plan, because I'm fucking bringing it. And if you win, man, you earn so much respect. I will raise your hand in the match if you win. Because I train so hard and I'm coming with so much violence that if you beat me, then I'm going to show you the respect that you deserve. But I'm fucking bringing it. And I'm not going to stop until the clock goes or until you submit. But I will rest when I get home. One of my professors told me that a long time ago. He told me, when you're down and out, the room's spinning, you rest when you get home. Right? So that's the mindset that I bring to the table, is that I'm not like, losing doesn't enter my mind. What enters my mind is, you have to stop me.
That's a super powerful mindset. I really like that a lot. That's outstanding. Now, you also have an excellent guard as well. I don't mean to just focus on one aspect of your game. You use your knee shield really well. That's a game I like to play a lot myself. And also your X guard, which is also something I like to do. What advice would you offer to students to develop a well-rounded game? Because as you know, sometimes it can be difficult to focus on multiple areas at once. Generally speaking, like a lot of practitioners lean more towards guard play or passing as a result. Do you have any insights on how to like better balance those two facets of jiu-jitsu to prevent like a big skill discrepancy between the two?
So it's cool that you say that because ultimately my guard is my A game. But I make sure that I'm going to beat you with my B game. And then if you put me on my back, well, now we're actually like, now it's game on. You know what I mean? So when I was a blue belt, I was a blue belt for 4 years. I was a purple belt for 4 years. During my blue belt time is when I really honed in on sweeping. I kind of like at white belt, I kind of got an idea of the basic moves and things like that. When I got my blue belt, I said, I want to learn how to get off my back. And I like passing. So I told myself, when I roll, I want to pass and I want to be on top. But I'm not going to earn that right until I get the sweep. So my whole 4 years as a blue belt, I would pull guard or I would start in some sort of a guard. But I had to sweep you to earn the position that I wanted to play. Right? So that just developed my guard. And I said, oh man, I'm not going to play any fun jiu-jitsu that I want to play unless I develop this. Right? And now that's where, like, if I get put on my back, I'm only there for seconds. I don't really play there for long because it's such a strong position for me. I have sweeps that go right into submissions and things like that, right? Like I don't play guard. I attack from guard, you know? Yeah. So, but then purple belt, I started developing my passing. And then brown belt, I said, holy shit, I'm close to a black belt. I need to go back to square one and learn jiu-jitsu all over again from a brown belt mindset. Because when I learned jiu-jitsu in the beginning, that was a white belt mindset. And it was like more no holds barred type weird shit. So I need to go back to square one and I need to relearn and teach myself jiu-jitsu all over again. Right. And then when I got my black belt, it was like, okay, I just graduated high school. Now it's my first day in university. Right. So now it's like, you pick things and work on them. But yeah, as a blue belt, I worked on my sweeps. Purple belt, I worked on my passing. Brown belt, I said, holy shit, I need the fundamentals.
That's
Does that
awesome.
answer your question?
It absolutely does, man. I love it.
Cool.
No, I love how you emphasize that you add these guardrails for yourself to keep yourself focusing on what you should be focusing on. I think that's something really important for students going along the way, that if you're just going through the motions in your day-to-day training without like specific objectives like that, the development's a little slower than if you force yourself, like Kyle just said, like, I'm not going to play top game unless I earned that game by landing sweeps from my guard. And that forces your sweeps and your guard play to get real good. So that's super cool that you pointed that out.
And now, like, what I do now is I'll start it deep in a lasso position. So now it's like, I want to play passing. Okay. But first I have to get out of the lasso to get to the passing positions that I want. So for the past 2 years, I've been developing my ability to break free of a lasso and pass from there and set up a passing sequences from there.
That's excellent. That's something I need to start doing too. Lasso is probably the most annoying guard. I got a few guys I train with that are just so damn good at it. And yeah, I should be putting those same guardrails on myself right now.
And now it comes down to the awareness of when the lasso has to happen, right? So like, let's say, for example, I'm coming into a knee cut position. You have to lasso your foot on my shoulder to create space to get your bottom leg back. You have to, because you can't just use your knee shield. I'm just going to long step. So you have to lasso. So when I get to that knee cut position, as you lasso, I already swivel going to the leg drag on the other side.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now as you high step for this side, a knee cutting back to the other side, knowing that you have to do these things.
I think when you reach that level of thinking, that's when you've gotten to a really high level in jiu-jitsu, because it's that human chess game we talk about, where you're anticipating steps that are several steps ahead, knowing what the options are. I've heard people call it like bottlenecking, like you bottleneck someone into having to choose, kind of like put them in a dilemma where they have to pick 2 or 3 options, and you already know which ones they are. And you've already got answers for each one. So,
and then answers for the next dilemma.
The next ones. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I love picking the brains of people that think like this, man. It's so cool. By the way, guys, if you're out there listening, for the people out there listening, Kyle has got several instructionals with us here at BJJ Fanatics. So whether you guys are wanting to pick his brain more on a top side control, like, side control, mount, pressure passing, things of that nature, top half guard, he's got several instructionals on those topics. He's also got stuff from the guard as well, which is, as he said, his A game. He's got a great X guard and knee shield instructional, so you guys can check them out at bjjfanatics.com. Kyle, man, in closing, your year has been off to a fantastic start, man. You've already collected several gold medals. We're only in April now, so congratulations on a very successful year so far. What are your major goals for 2025? What are some things you hope to accomplish by the end of the year?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you recognizing that. That really means a lot to me. I put in a lot of work for this, right? Yeah, so this year I think I've got 10 gold medals already since January in the IBJJF. My main goals were to break top 10 in Master 3 Light, which I did. Now I'm ranked number 6 in gi and in no gi. So I achieved that goal. My next goals moving on are just collect those Grand Slam podium medals. Pans, Europeans, no-gi worlds, worlds masters, no-gi Euros, no-gi pans. I'm just focused on collecting those medals now and becoming a world's masters champion, a pan champion, European champion. That's what I'm gunning for, is the gold medal in the Grand Slam now. And I'm going to get it. I'm so close. I'm nipping at the feathers of these guys. They're not far ahead of me, and I'm about to catch up real soon. Trust me.
Well, folks, unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. Kyle, man, it's been a great conversation, my friend. I really appreciate you being so generous with your knowledge. I'm really inspired by you, man. You're someone that really has dedicated themselves to competing as frequently as humanly possible. And it's just awesome to see someone out there living the life the way that you do. You're welcome back on the show anytime. I'd love to have you back in the future for another conversation.
Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate the invite and everything that you guys, BJJ Fanatics, does for me. Very grateful for you guys. So thanks a lot for having me. And so I'd love to be back on anytime.
Absolutely. You're always welcome. For anyone out there that wants to keep up with Kyle, it's real easy to do so. He's active on social media. On Instagram, it's bull_Sleeman. Facebook is Kyle Sleeman. And on YouTube, he has a channel. If you type in Kyle Sleeman, his channel will pop up. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the little bell icon to get notified for when he adds new videos. Also, guys, if you guys are able to get to Mexico in May, he's got a seminar that he's doing. Kyle, tell us a little bit about that. It's going to be in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, so I'm going down to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico for a week. I land May 3rd. I will be doing a seminar May 5, 6, and 7 at Bahia Combat Club just outside of Puerto Vallarta. And it's going to be a good turnout. I went last year and did it there. It was super fun. Come out. Everybody's welcome. You can just send a message to me or Bahia Combat Club in Puerto Vallarta. They will get back to you as well. So come have some fun. Come enjoy the paradise, some sun, some water, and obviously jiu-jitsu.
Awesome. Yeah, good opportunity for anyone that wants a jiu-jitsu vacation. That sounds like a really cool time. So make sure you guys reach out for the details on that. And if you're able to get down there, jump in on it. If you're not able to make it, though, you can learn from Kyle anywhere in the world here at bjjfanatics.com. He's got several instructionals with us covering everything from guard play to topside pressure. So make sure you type in his name at bjjfanatics.com and get some of that knowledge. And that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the BJJ Fanatics podcast.